Hello and welcome to the alcohol ink tutorial. I'll be showing you how I created pieces such as this one. Abstract pieces using a free-flowing alcohol ink technique. For this I'll be using Jacquard's Pinata color collection as well as an alcohol blending solution. You could use a very high concentration of isopropyl alcohol as well. I'm using Yupo translucent paper. Yupo is a propylene paper. It's not really paper. All right, so I've got a piece right here. It's translucent. You can kind of see through it. I'm just gonna get the surface of the Yupo sort of covered with this alcohol blending solution. So as it's not paper, it's a non-porous surface. So it's the alcohol blending solution is just sitting on top, and you can see when the alcohol blending solution touches past alcohol ink, it reactivates it. That's fine. I don't mind it so much, but I suppose you could probably clean your gloves or use clean ones, but I don't mind. I actually like color blends here, so I'm just gonna roll with it. I'm gonna drop the alcohol ink on the surface. You can see it already spreads, creates these drip-like textures. If I want these colors to blend very smoothly, I'm going to work kind of quickly while they're still pretty wet. However, like I said, they become reactivated anytime alcohol touches them. A little bit like watercolor in that it's non-permanent once water touches it as well. So I have these blocks of color. I'm liking how this is turning out. I'm going to add a little bit more of that blending solution. It's going to sort of loosen the pigment up a little bit, make it flow. You can see wherever that alcohol falls, sort of leaves these rings and textures. I think of this a little bit like play, just because this is a sort of new medium to me. I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. Just a lot of experimentation. A sort of willingness to be surprised with an outcome. Areas that I want to dilute or maybe blend or fan out. Continue just dropping the blending solution here. And you'll see I'm getting these interesting layered effects. As the colors are diluted, and as it continues to dry, I might keep adding a little bit more pigment here and there. Included in this pack are metallics. There's brass and copper and pearl. You know me, I've gotta always mess with some metallics. I have found the brass, specifically the particles in here, really like to congeal together. They like to form sort of these solid spaces, which is fine. It's kind of taken some getting used to. Sometimes I want to break them up a little bit and have it be less of a solid shape. Maybe I want them to be a little more free-flowing. So I'll just take the alcohol blending solution, drop that into place, and see if I can't break that up a tiny bit. Again, it's all sort of experimenting. Helps not to be too attached to maybe a form or shape that I'm seeing and that I like, just simply because every time you add more alcohol, the more it's going to change. So again, it helps to kind of be open to being surprised with your outcome rather than having a set plan in mind. You could plan it out a little bit more, and maybe when I'm more used to these, I'll be able to plan that out myself. I'm pretty happy with this, so I'm going to actually let this sit. And try to get these particles to spread out a tiny bit. Maybe bend here. And this is really just until it dries. Anywhere that's going to have a lot of the alcohol solution, so just sort of want to pool together. I could also move some of these particles around manually. You can use brushes, Q-tips, whatever you'd like. So you can see even just pushing the blending solution that's already on the paper is already kind of reactivating the dried ink. As you can see, again, I just added the alcohol blending solution and just pushes some of the pigment out of the way rather than pulling it in like you would see in watercolor. You could use a hair dryer to speed up the drying time, but as is the case with watercolor as well, the act of just blowing hot air onto it is going to actually push the fluid around as well. Since I don't really have an image in mind that I'm going for or anything representational I'm trying to show, this process is really more kind of feeling out what feels balanced to you. Like with many mediums, it is very possible to overwork it. And sometimes it's better to call it quits when you feel it might be close enough to what you're looking for. Especially if there's designs or elements that you want to preserve in it. All right. Keep thinking I'm done and then it changes on me. But you can see you could kind of keep at this for a long time and keep finding really interesting effects. So I encourage if this is something that you're interested in, really take the time to experiment. Okay. I'm gonna let this dry, and again, it might still continue to shape and form. I might go back into it after it's dry and still kind of mess around with a few areas, but that kind of thing is your call. Once it is dry, I would recommend spraying it with a finish. I use the Kmart varnish, and once you spray it over, it won't be able to get reactivated with ink again, so it's pretty much set and permanent. And then I finish it up with a UV resistant gloss, and that prevents fading. Sometimes I'll finish again with a Kmart just to kind of get it nice and glossy on top. And there you have it. Enjoy.